Hey everyone, this is Mark Ryan coming at you with another video. And today we have actually a special guest. You might be kind of surprised to see him. This is Matt from the YouTube channel Lion of Fire. And hey, Matt, just take a couple moments and introduce yourself and your channel.
Thank you so much, Mark, for having me on. So as Mark said, Matt, from Fire Ministries. I started my channel a couple of years ago almost. We're up to around 33K subs at the moment. It's been growing nicely, and it focuses on the theme of the channel is short videos to encourage, inspire, challenge, and convict. And having come out of a church that was more seeker friendly, it really showed me that there are people that need to learn hard, good biblical truth in love. And I do a variety of types of videos on my channel. So I'll do expository Bible study. I'll do topical videos. I'll do interviews. I'll comment on current affairs. I'll do some exposing error. So there's a lot of variety on there.
Right. Okay.
And I just try to equip people to know God more, become like Jesus, and to preach the gospel.
Well, and I will say then, hey, there's unity on the seeker sensitive kind of movement. We're lockstep on that for sure.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see variety in channels. I try to do variety, and sometimes it happens. Sometimes there's seasons where it doesn't happen. But with that, I thought we would start out kind of 3 segments. It might turn into 4, the way I cut these videos up, but kind of a first segment would be more personable, and we just talk about kind of life in Australia, because you're in Australia and I'm in Montana, and things could not be more polar opposite, I would think. And so I asked earlier, has there ever been snow in Australia that you've seen? Or
I mean, there are some parts where we have a little bit of snow, but I mean, where I'm from, we're in summer at the moment. A lot of days are 100 Fahrenheit plus. I've had to learn how to convert Celsius to Fahrenheit, and it is just hot. Probably these couple of months of the year are really hot. The rest of the year is really great weather, but we don't get the really cool either. So it won't go below freezing where I am. In other parts of Australia, it will, but we don't get the cold either.
So have you ever thrown a snowball in Australia then, or built a snowman?
No, not in Australia. I've done it in the Swiss Alps, and that's about it. But the closest we would come to that, I was laughing with a friend, another creator, about this, saying how in winter we might get hail that comes, and it's like a downpour for 5 minutes of this hail, and it's like, oh, it's hailing, look out the window. And then it sort of dries up within 2 minutes. So that's a bit of a taste for what we get. Yeah.
So never snow on Christmas or anything then?
Well, never. We can get 100 degrees on Christmas. So obviously it's a different season here.
Yeah. Okay. So what you're saying is that wasn't a very bright question then, is what you're saying there. Yeah.
It's funny when people are so associating Christmas with a white Christmas. You see it in the movies. We even have it in the movies here. And it's just I don't know. It doesn't seem weird to me because I watch so many American movies, but it is very different. I mean, and there are different parts of Australia. Obviously, we're a very vast land as well. There are colder parts, but not like what I've heard in the States, that's for sure.
Well, and in Montana, Christmas, always winter, always snow. I mean, well, I shouldn't say always. There's been a couple years where there's no snow, and then that's the talk of the town, and it's just not normal and stuff. But with that, I thought that we'd talk a little bit about, spiders, kangaroos and stuff. I'm one of those guys, I'm afraid of spiders. How true is it? In Australia, you guys have these nasty spiders and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when I hear that, because we don't walk around thinking, whoa, there's spiders all over the place. But where I am here, we have the funnel web spider. We have in South Australia the redback spider, which is quite dangerous. But I've never been bitten by any of them. It's not like they're lurking around the place. You're going to find them in your bed or anything, or probably even inside your house. So
How
The spot.
how big do they get though? Like,
oh, those ones are small. Like, so you're not looking at like tarantulas or anything like that. It's interesting because the deadliness of the spider isn't going to be determined by the size, is it? It's going to be determined by how venomous or the amount of poison that's in the spider. So they're small ones, and I suppose that makes it even, more sort of obscure, and you could sit on one or something like that. But I've never had any issues. I just try to stay away from the snakes when it's too hot. So I go walking like on walking trails and stuff like that. And when it's too hot, I'll stay away from there because there can be snakes, and I have seen snakes before.
Okay, so I was thinking Australia. I was thinking tarantulas everywhere. And Montana, we've got rattlesnakes. That's probably the scariest snake that we have.
Wow. Yeah.
But I thought I'd tell the story. A while ago, I bought a house, and it's got a crawl space, which is kind of like a basement. It's an unfinished basement, but super, not even that. But hey, I have to go change the furnace filter. And so I have to like open up into the crawl space, go down there, and go down there. All I see are dead spiders. Just dead spiders around it. And so I'm like, I can't, if I go try to touch something there, I'm going to get bit. I can't do it. So I'm not kidding you. I put on my coat. I put on, pants. I put on long sleeves, gloves. I'm covering like almost every inch of my body to go change the filter, changed it like a man. I got it done. And then, have to do it once a year. But now I can finally do it without all the extra stuff. But kangaroos, do you guys have like wild kangaroos?
It's really interesting because I live in Adelaide, which is South Australia. We're the next state over from where the city of Melbourne is, and then the city of Sydney is the next one over that. They're further east. Adelaide's sort of smallish. I live near the hills, so if I was to take my camera outside, you'd see the hills in the background, and near the hills and the foothills, you will get kangaroos. So I could drive a couple of minutes up the road and you can come across kangaroos. You can come across them with a joey. Koalas, like there are a lot of koalas around here. I have a little park next door to me, and over the last 2 weeks, there's been a koala that's been in there most days, and even quite low as well. I've sent videos to my American friends. So and they're like, oh, so you actually do get like koalas and kangaroo sightings and stuff. That actually does happen. It's like, yeah, we do. I mean, you're not going to get kangaroos jumping around the cities or anything, but if you're out near the hills and stuff like that, you see them.
So there's probably been 8 times though, right? Where you have a kangaroo in the city and then they call animal control or something, or?
I saw for the first time in my life the other day, I was coming home, and as I was driving home about a street away from my house, there was an enormous kangaroo jumping across people's front yards. And I've never seen that before, but I was there looking at it going like, what? And someone else is like recording it as well. And I quickly ducked home to get mine, but it had gone by that time. But I mean, it's a very rare thing, like to just see them out and about. And we don't ride kangaroos to work or anything. That's for sure.
That was the next question. Cause sometimes in Montana, people will ask, hey, do you Montana people, do you ride horses to school or work and things? Well, the answer is no. I mean, we're behind everyone by a while, but we're not that, behind the times and stuff.
Yeah. I find as well, one more thing I'll say about Australia is I find that like American portrayals of Australia on movies and stuff can just be like so inaccurate, and they make us look so stupid. Like it's just like this whole like, g'day mate, I'm an Aussie drongo sort of thing, like really accentuate that accent, and the whole Crocodile Dundee, this isn't a knife, this is a knife. And it just makes us sound so silly, but we're not quite that bad, even if we do sound a bit funny.
Not everyone sounds like Crocodile Dundee and what Steve Irwin and stuff. That's you're kind of destroying my,
That's like, yeah, crikey, that was too close.
So people don't talk like that, really?
No,
they don't.
No, not really. I mean, people will talk like me. I think my accent is pretty thick, and people from overseas have said that, but. I mean, that other accent is definitely sort of a bit of a dumbed down Australian thing.
So do they do that kind of for show then too, or?
I would say so.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say they accentuate a little bit of that for show. And then or the portrayals that I've seen in a lot of American things, even in The Simpsons and stuff, it's pretty comical. And you've got like the prime minister, the guy yelling out to the prime minister, sitting like in this lake in a floaty thing, like with no shirt on and like with a Foster's beer, and it's just like it's funny. It's funny.
And so, how can I ask you? How old are you by chance?
I'm actually 36.
36. Okay.
So I'm probably a bit older than I look. I get all different sort of guesses at my age, but yeah, 36. How about yourself?
I will guess first, I guess. If you had to take
I was thinking you'd probably be around the same or early 30s, maybe.
Yeah, I'm 33 now. So
cool.
Good guess. About 5 years ago, I had a beard like this and I shaved. I just went clean shaven. And I walked into work. I was working with kids and stuff. And the kids were saying, who's this new high schooler that's one of us? And I'm like, nope, I'm staff. I'm in charge of you.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I was checking out some of your videos. Actually, I'll probably say it later in the next segment, but I was about ready to put you on blast, Matt. And then I checked out some of your videos, and you talk about kind of a struggle you go through with chronic illness. Could you share about that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and it's been a challenging journey. So about 7 years ago, I burnt out. So I was doing so much. I was working 4 days a week. I was doing Bible college Monday nights, Tuesday nights, Wednesdays during the day. I was at my church Wednesday nights, in the youth leadership Friday nights, church Sunday. And amidst that, I was trading the financial markets, the FTSE futures in the evenings. And I had to be productive every moment of the day, and was really one of those overdriven people. And there was a day at the start of 2015 where I could feel myself getting worn out, but I crashed. And it's hard to explain what that means. I had a panic attack, which I'd never had. My body felt like it had lost a bunch of gears, and it put me on this journey of sickness. And it wasn't till a few years later that I was actually diagnosed with Lyme disease, which it's believed that I got when I was on a mission trip to India in 2013, because another friend of mine got tested positive also. And we saw an article actually years later, from 2 months before we went, saying there was an outbreak of Lyme in a regional area that we went to. And the tests came back positive. So during that time, I mean, I lost everything. I went from being someone that is always doing something, always high achiever, to losing my job, my finances, obviously my health. My fiance left me in 2018 just because she couldn't cope with it anymore. It was impacting her. And I mean, on top of that, like, I couldn't look at screens for more than 5 or 10 minutes. I couldn't watch a game of football. I couldn't read a book. I couldn't even listen to audiobooks. Was too straining for me. Catch up with friends. Hardly any church fellowship. So, I mean, I was hit hard, and it left me in a position. Thankfully, I've got amazing, supportive, godly parents that have come alongside me and helped me. But it left me in a position where my world was shaken. Everything I knew was shaken. And I had to hold on to God during that time. And that's what helped me to grow. And one of the reasons why I want to minister to people on a personal level through some of those types of videos as well, people that are struggling with those sorts of things or other things as well.
So it sounds like that radically changed your life. It radically changed everything. And probably the Bible verse that comes to my mind first when something like that happens is God makes all things work together for good for those who love God and have been called according to his purpose. And so we know that, hey, God is using this somehow. I don't know how, but have you seen different ways where God's using this for your good or anything? Or?
Absolutely. I mean, that verse in Romans 8:28 is amazing. And also Romans 8:18 has been one that I've held on to a lot, which, you know, the suffering of this present time is not worth being compared to the glory that is to be revealed. And there's also a similar verse in 2 Corinthians 4:16-18, where it talks about, you know, this light momentary affliction is preparing for us an eternal weight of glory. And what it did for me is it got me out of my head. I was always a high achiever. I was always studying the Bible. I was always knowing more than people. Finished top of my Bible class 2 years in a row. And I was always that driven type. And my identity was probably tied up in some of these things that I didn't realize. when I was stripped of all of those things, my view on life completely changed, because I thought to myself, how am I going to honor God during this? How am I going to even get through this? And I believe everything that I believe with my head in the Bible. And now I'm going to need to experience this in my life if I'm going to get through this. And I always trusted, I always knew that God would do a great work during this time. I never despaired. Obviously, it was hard, many tears, many frustrations, loneliness, isolation, but I always knew that. And the verse that comes to mind for me is in Job. I don't know where it is, but it's in the last chapter, where it says, before I had heard of him, but now I've seen him myself. And that is probably how I would describe my journey. And it has developed an empathy, a compassion, and has allowed me to connect with people who are really struggling as well. And I think people see that authentically on the channel. And I do get a lot of people that are even going through similar things to that or other things, because they can see, okay, this guy's been through it, he's still standing, and I can impart that to them. So that would be one way, both the personal growth and the opportunity to minister to people that I maybe wouldn't have been able to previously.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense in that you were saying, hey, essentially, hey, it's one thing to say, I trust God. And then it's an entirely different thing to be put in place where, like, we do have to trust God with our health, with circumstances, with different things like that. And then you were saying, hey, I think it sounds like it sets your heart or your mind on eternity too. Hey, this is temporary, and I have something to look forward in eternity, in the next life. And beyond that, that makes me think of my dad, who, he battled colon cancer. It got diagnosed, and it was stage 4 cancer. And so I spent the last year with him, and he told me during that time, hey, Mark, I felt like before I had cancer and everything, that I was being kind of a Pharisee, if that makes sense. I didn't have this concern for other people that I did after I was diagnosed with cancer. And when something like that happens, then people start to notice when other people are going through hard things, and it can shift people's focus and mindset a bit in a good way, I would say too, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like 100%. I mean, it got me to a place where it empties you out. It just empties you out, and you recognize that life isn't what I thought it was. Things aren't as simplistic as I think they are, and people aren't the problem. We're all going through battles. We're all going through challenging things, and it made me think to myself, I feel for these people, and I want to minister to these people more. So like I said, it got me out of my head, and it went straight to the heart, and just the love for God, the love for people. And strangely enough, but not strangely, if we look at the Bible, I think Philippians 4, where Paul learnt the secret of contentment in all things, that's something that came to me. And today I am happier, more joyful, more at peace, more content than I've ever been in my entire life. And it's because I've been emptied. It's because I've been given the eternal perspective, and because I've been changed by God. And I'm grateful to him for that. I've gotten better from before. I was bedbound, I was housebound. Now I can do more. I still have my limitations, but I'm grateful for every bit of health that I have. And I'm excited about the journey ahead.
Good. Now, you alluded to Paul's thorn in the flesh, and we didn't plan this. That piqued my curiosity.
Yeah.
Do you think some people will argue, hey, that was a health problem? Do you have any thoughts on that, or anything there by chance? Or
I mean, I'm not too sure really. Like, I know some people will say it was a problem with like his eyesight, or it was a problem when he was left behind somewhere, or something like this. But I mean, if we look at that particular passage, the context of that is he's had this exceedingly great vision. And then he's talking about, God has given me this thorn to keep me humble. And I'm not going to pretend that I know more about that than I do, but I do just wonder if that thorn in the flesh were the afflictions that he experienced, living out that faith journey and bringing the gospel to people I'm not sure whether it was that or whether it was a physical ailment or not.
And I think you're getting into it in that whatever the thorn in the flesh is, it seems like that's not the important thing.
Yeah.
If it was the super important thing, that'd be talked about. Instead, it was,
100%.
It seems to me that it's more of how, hey, Paul's now relying on God. He's not being filled with pride.
Yeah.
Those kind of things too.
Exactly. Yeah.